Okay, looks like we are live. Hello, everybody out there. Welcome back to the Erasmus Expeditions. There's been a little bit of a hiatus. For those of you who are outside the know, we were caught in Hurricane Harvey, and I am currently having to live with my sister and brother-in-law, who are gracious enough to have put me and my family up. So that's why the background looks a little different, and as well as why it's been a little while since I've run a game. But we're kind of making do. So here we are. We're with session 10 of On the Rise, our Egyptian-themed D&D campaign, as you can see by the overlay here. Tonight we will be missing one of our players, at least for the majority of the evening. And we're having another player who's having some technical difficulties. Hopefully he's able to join us as we get underway here. So we do have a guest with us this evening. So we'll go ahead and pass it off to all of our players who are present so that they can do introductions, and then we'll kind of go over a little bit of business before we get started. So if we could go ahead and have Trevor take us out.
You know I hate going first, but I'll do it. All right, my name is Trevor. This is session 10 for the last 9 sessions, and this session included, I am playing a forest gnome druid named Rith von Schwarzenomen. And he ended up in this campaign due to shipwreck. Fast forward a few weeks, and he's now in the middle of an infested city overrun by the undead on a quest to kill the god of the undead with a bunch of crazy players.
You know, it's just small things, really. Minimal tasks. Yeah, thank you, Trevor. And we'll go straight over to Jeff.
Yes, I am Jeff. I have a YouTube channel called Encounterbalance. Feel free to check that out if you're interested. Yeah, I am playing Khalid. He is a, mechanically speaking, a human monk/rogue. He is from Messhiba, the city, infested city that Trevor mentioned. It's now overrun with zombies or undead of various sorts. In last session, we kind of got to dig in a little bit more into a little bit about Khalid and kind of where he's from and what he used to do and a little bit of that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing on.
Excellent. Okay, and then last but not least, Eli, our guest for this evening.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been too long since we've had a chance, so it's really nice to get this going again. Yeah, so I'm Eli Kurtz. I'm going to be playing Shava of the Shifting Sands, and I have a YouTube channel, The Mythic Gazetteer, and a website and other stuff, so you can check me out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, there is a link to Jeff's channel down in the description below, and if I can remember to do it, I will go ahead and link Eli's channel as well, add it to the description after this game. So yeah, hopefully Mike will be joining us here in just a little bit. He's having a little bit of issues. He was also caught in the hurricane and is also displaced from his normal house and routine. So hopefully he can get that figured out and hop in here and join us. So before we do get started, I just wanted to go over a couple of things. We've touched a little bit on what happened last time. Our characters had arrived at the human capital of Messhiba to find it indeed overrun by a kind of undead that is being referred to as the Unleashed. And they are a type of undead that seems to spread through contact, as told by a group of Mahan dwarves that they had come across in an orphanage. And they ended up fighting their way to the Temple of Nerull, which is the god of death. And this temple was not overrun. It was unmolested by this horde that was ravaging the rest of the city. And when the party arrived, they found that most of the inhabitants of the temple were not present, that they were gone, and that many of the holy relics and things had also been removed from this temple. There were several acolytes that had been left behind, which the party very, very quickly dealt with. And then they were confronted with an unusual holy warrior, a paladin who was undead himself. They ended up fighting him, and it was a pretty grueling match, if my memory serves correctly. And then they did manage to down him, finding quite a bit of savory gear off of him. And then they went upstairs and raided the room of the High Priestess to find these masks that they had been sent to recover from this place. 5 of these relics that are essentially worn by the priests and priestesses of Nerull as they carry out funerary rites. And we pretty much ended right after that they had regained control or gained control of these relics. And I think that's probably where we're going to start. However, before we do actually get started, I do want to go ahead and warn about language. We are all adults, at least in how long we've been alive. And there's going to be adult language. Topic sometimes wanders into the mature, and this is the only apology that you're going to get for it. Sorry. If that kind of thing bothers you, you should leave. But if it doesn't bother you, welcome. Stay, you perverts, you sick bastards. So, unless you guys can think of anything else that I have failed to bring up, mention, recover, etc., then we'll get this party started. Cool. So, after Tabashet, the undead paladin has been defeated, and you have managed to raid the room of the High Priestess and find the death masks. What is it that you are getting up to now?
I forget who is holding the plans to the ritual location.
Did you guys find something dealing with that?
Yes, we did.
Refresh my memory, if you would, please.
Okay, now the door's closed. Noctos last session, he reached into a desk by the priestess's bed and got poisoned, cut off his own finger. But Khalid was the one who retrieved it. I don't know if it got passed around after that, but they found the paper that had the ritual plans in the Valley of Deshara.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I would imagine at least for the time being that Khalid probably has them, although I'll leave it up to Jeff as to whether or not Khalid has, handed them off or shared them around.
So I'm not sure that Khalid ended up with them. At least I don't remember taking them. I don't have anything marked for that. But yeah, he absolutely would have at least passed it around and probably given it to somebody else.
Okay, excellent. So then to answer your question, yes, Trevor, Rith would have access to them.
Okay, we'll just say Rith got them because
Sure.
the other people aren't here. So, okay. So after Khalid had retrieved the papers and looked at them, he passes them off to Rith, and then sees to his bleeding comrade. Rith reviews the plans and connects a few dots. Okay, we've been through this place. We have gone through all the chambers and all the different ritual locations. They've been missing all sorts of important items for different rituals. The rooms were bare for the rituals that they should have been performing in those locations. So this right here is a map showing where they've gone and what they're doing. I think they're performing a ritual over in the Valley of Deshara, but I don't know where that's at exactly.
And I would say Khalid you at least have probably heard of the tombs of Deshara, which is fairly far to the north and east, no, north and west from Messhiba. So you have Messhiba in the east and Baklabesh, which is the old capital, in the west. And it's almost situated in between the two, but north in the mountains that kind of goes across the northern landscape of this entire kingdom. And it's basically a Valley of the Kings type location. You know, the very, very, very important pharaohs, heroes of yore, things of that nature are all taken and buried there in very elaborate tombs filled with riches of all kinds. So it's definitely at least a place that is mentioned frequently.
And would Khalid have any sort of semblance of, you know, when you say far, like how far, as far as how much time it would take to get there?
Walking, it would probably be considered too far to walk. If you had things like horses, camels, things of that nature, I would say it would probably be a 2-week journey. So it's a decent clip.
Rith is reading off the locations. Khalid's just kind of nodding along. Yes, Deshara. I've heard rumors of the tombs of Deshara for all the great kings and legendary heroes and mythical figures, as it were. Though it's quite a ways from here. Weeks if we had horses or some sort of transportation. Be a fool's journey. Makes me wonder how long ago these people left.
It could be possible. I do have the required elements necessary that we can fly on the Haratapi one more time over to our sand ship and take the ship. Maybe we can catch up if they aren't already there. That way we don't have to worry about the undead hordes that surround us.
That may be the easiest way to get there. Yeah, I agree. The way it doesn't seem like we have too much time to lose. If that's where this is leading us, then that's where we should try to get to as fast as possible, I'd say.
All right, Sigurd, what say you?
Sigrid just kind of nods somewhat stoically. She says something along the lines of, if that's what we all want to do, then that's what we'll do. Okay, so it sounds like maybe that's the plan.
Seems like it.
I would ask Noctis, but he's probably still passed out on the floor.
He might be. I actually got word from Mike. He's not able to figure out what is going on with the computer, so I don't think he's going to be joining us this evening. So,
Carry on.
We'll carry on. So, it sounds like, Rith, then you are going to feed Haratape another gemstone in order to activate his flying capabilities.
After we get outside, yes.
Right. Okay, so you guys start making your way back through the temple out towards the doors from where you came, where you entered. And you notice as you're passing through one place or another through the temple that there's sunlight gleaming off of a panel of gold. But the color of the sunlight is very orange, very, very dark. For the shade that it normally is here. And you realize that the sun is beginning to set, that night is encroaching. And as you exit the temple and bring Haratape forth, feeding him, is it a diamond?
Diamond, yes.
Diamond. You feed Haratape a diamond. he grows in size until he is large enough for the four of you to climb upon his back. And he opens his shell to reveal his jeweled wings, and you take flight. We're working on getting the picture of Haratep up here. Hold, please. So you climb atop the back of Haratape, and with kind of a droning hum, his wings begin to beat rapidly as you rise up into the sky above the city of Messhiba and turn eastward towards the area of the city where you came in by the smuggler's tunnel that Khalid had turned you onto. And is the intention to fly all the way back to where the ship is, or to fly back to the orphanage, or?
If we can make it all the way to the ship, that would be preferred.
Okay.
I don't know how long I've got with this thing. Oh, 1 hour. If it's an hour's flight to the ship, then yeah, we can make it. If not, we'll have to walk from the orphanage.
Yeah, this should be fine. So you fly. Go ahead.
What about the hatchling? He's still following us?
He is, yes. Yeah, the little blue dragon hatchling is flying along behind you, kind of nitpicking some of your choices. He keeps informing you that more than likely his mother will eat you the next time that you come across her, and he just hopes that she saves him some, because you smell very tasty. So you fly on, and soon you're able to pass over the wall of the city on the eastern side, and you see the secondary gate that Khalid had used as a landmark to find his smuggler's tunnel. And at first you kind of fly around, and you're like, wait a second, that was where we were. So you turn around, come back, and you find that you don't see the ship anywhere. But upon your second pass, you do notice that there are two bodies laid out in the sand near where it looks like maybe the ship was. If you do in fact land, whenever you inspect these bodies, you find that one of them is in fact Civis, and the other is the slave girl who had kind of helped the slaves throw off the shackles and become part of your crew of this sand ship. Both of them sport deep slashes, and the edges of these slashes are cauterized. Khalid, you've seen this kind of work done before. It looks somewhat familiar.
Familiar as in perhaps maybe someone that he may have known, maybe a particularly jackal-headed friend that he saw not too long ago.
Very well, perhaps. He is known for wielding a weapon and is a blade of fire. And this is kind of a signature mark that he leaves behind, if you will.
The moment Khalid sees the mark, these slashes that are cauterized, like, it's not often that Khalid gets like incredibly vivid with his emotions. Like, he's a pretty reserved person, but he would actually just shout like, "Damn it!" And kind of stomp into the sand, sending probably a cloud of it up.
And how is Rith taking this?
Earth would be slightly disappointed that his choice of ride is no longer present. Maybe a little upset that the captain's dead, but he got dragged into this mess because of him. So no big loss. Rit's going to search the bodies, though, see if there's something else to this, like something of value that we can find, maybe a note, maybe some gold, something we could take with us at the very least.
Yeah, I'm sure that Civis probably carries a purse of gold coins on his person, but Rith finds nothing more than loose purse strings that have been severed. Likewise, the leather on the ends of these leather tongs that would normally hold this purse to the belt have been kind of burned.
Well, certainly the work of thieves. Probably the same guy made off with our ship and the rest of the crew.
Not thieves, killers. Damn good one at that. I know those marks anywhere.
Wow, that was a very dramatic pause. Oh no.
Huh?
Jeff, you're cutting up real bad. Uh-oh.
Hello?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I don't know how much of that got cut off, but
Your dramatic pause happened, and then it just hung on forever. It was good.
yeah, he basically just said, like, yeah, these aren't the mark of thieves, these are killers, a damn good one. That there were people that he knew in Messhiba who would use some signatures like that. Basically like almost like a brutal calling card from like a warning sign.
Which may remind Rith of a certain individual that you all met inside the city who seemed to know Khalid, and Khalid seemed to know him. And there was a definite kind of tense exchange that occurred before he went his separate way.
And Rith was smart and wrote down his name. All right, you're speaking of this guy, Kamemwe, correct? The one with the strange dog head?
That's the one. At least he's the only one that we saw in the city alive, so I'll take it was him.
How do you get to have a dog head anyway? I mean, I can't change one part of my body, just all of it.
And just for confirmation, since I don't think it was ever explicit, are these two people both dead, or are they just wounded?
No, they are quite dead.
Quite dead. Okay.
Yes, very much so. And Khalid would know as far as what Rith is asking, as far as jackal-headed, etc. But essentially, these are gnolls for this setting. Is they look more akin to this as opposed to, hyena types that would normally be present in other parts of the world.
Well, that aside, the obvious issue is we do not have transportation. Khalid, do you have any other ideas? Can you pull some? Well, I would ask if you could pull strings, but there's not a whole lot of people to talk to around here.
Even if these people weren't zombies, everybody I know in this city would kill me sooner than talk to me. So I don't know how much ground we'd make either way, and the fact that they're all undead monsters doesn't exactly help their enjoyment of my presence anymore.
Perhaps we should just start walking then.
Remember the part I told you about walking being a fool's journey?
Oh, that's how we kind of came across you in the middle of the desert, isn't it? We were on a ship and you were walking.
I've never said that wasn't a fool's journey either.
As you're talking, some sand starts to blow up around you. Not a lot, just enough that you can kind of feel it peck against your clothes as it blows by.
And the sun kind of starts to slip down beneath the dunes to the far east, as is normal here in Rostfin, the sun rising in the west and setting in the east. And the purple and blue hues of the sky start to grow darker and claim more of the area.
And seeing the shadow getting cast over, we'll just look over to Rith to say, we can worry about transportation at some point, but right now we need shelter. We can't just lie here in the middle of the desert night.
At this point, the sand starts to pick up a little more, and it becomes a little conspicuous. You know, it's enough to wonder what's going on. And you see off in the distance, maybe about 20 feet away, there's this woman who's walking toward you. And is it pronounced Navendar or Navendar?
Yeah, the latter, Navendar.
Navendar? Okay. You notice it's a Navendar woman. And she is not as shades of black as some Navendar are. She's actually more shades of brown, but she's a very dark brown. And she has these features that are almost like a lion or something, and these big ears that remind you a little bit of a fennec fox. And she's wearing these like really baggy pants. She's got this scarf wrapped around her head. And she walks up to you and she says, "Did I hear you seek shelter?"
Both of Khalid's hands reach for daggers instinctively. He kind of takes a step back to guard himself. You
notice that she does have a rather long and rather straight scimitar hanging at her side.
And Khalid just nods down to the two dead bodies and then back up to this person and just says, "Fortunately, we're not in much of a position to be trusting, so we're going to need a little bit more information than that if you want us to go along with you."
Yes, the shifting sands, they betray one and all eventually. I am Shava. I am an acolyte of the shifting sands, and if you would, I can provide shelter for the night.
Convenient, if you ask me. If we're standing beside two corpses, a missing ship, and now a mysterious woman from the sands asking us to stay the night.
Sands are calming, and she looks over her shoulder, and you can see that there is a gust of sand that blows past just then. And she says, "They are rising tonight. You do not want to be outside."
Khalid looks over his shoulder towards the ruined city of Messhiba, and then just out across the dunes, just completely barren. He just looks back. "I don't trust you, at least not yet. But that being said, it seems that our options are lacking. We sleep in the dunes, we sleep in a city."
Oh no, it happened again.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, you dropped again.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
It seems like you're back though.
Cool. Yeah. The summary of that, I don't know how much went missing, was like, we either sleep in the dunes, we sleep in a zombie infested city, or we trust a stranger. So it seems like the safest option, strangely enough, to trust the stranger.
Okay. And when you say that, she extends her right hand, and her right hand is painted with red designs, these kind of geometric patterns that go most of the way down her forearm. And you can see she's got a globe of green glass embedded in her palm, but it doesn't look like it's like the result of torture or anything. It almost looks like it's a natural part of her. And it glows just a little bit. And she says, "I swear upon the shifting sands you may trust me."
So solid is your foundation.
Khalid frowns, clearly still apprehensive, but he'll extend his hand out as well.
All right. Yeah, she'll shake your hand and nothing happens. I mean, it feels weird to have a glass globe in your palm, but otherwise nothing happens. So Jeremy.
And I imagine that almost like takes him off. Like he was expecting some weird like magic thing to happen there, and like nothing does. He just kind of like stands there staring at it for a moment, just like, okay, when's the thing gonna happen? And then just like nothing happens.
I will say though, whenever you break your hand away from hers and she pulls it back, you notice that you feel the sensation of some sand whipping downward across your hand, like as if following her hand. So Jeremy, I was kind of bluffing about where to go. I figure she has someplace nearby, but I don't know where.
Yeah, so the Navendar are nomadic. They wander around from city to city, and they are known for being purveyors and makers of extremely exquisite goods, fine clothes like silks, rugs, things of that nature. You know, just they have the knack of being able to find very, very highly prized goods, and they carry them from city to city, but they don't stay in the city. At least not as a tribe. You know, there may be a couple individuals who venture into the city, but instead, the tribe itself actually establishes a tent city, usually outside against the walls, if it's a large enough city, things of that nature. And it's kind of this almost a maze, if you will, of tents that are kind of all sheltered and huddled together.
Yeah.
It's very easy to become lost in them if you don't know what you're doing. But there's probably several hundred tents that are in this collection, and that's probably where Shava has been staying.
Okay, and it hasn't been overrun by these Unleashed?
No, most of the tribe either left or they went inside to try to help the humans fight and never returned.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to take them toward there then. And as we go, I'm going to look at the two of them, kind of over at Khalid and then down at Rith. And I'm going to say, "Who are you?"
My name is Khalid.
Khalid.
I am a traveler of sorts in these lands, I guess is what you would call me now.
A nomad like us.
Something of the sort, yes.
Very well. And you? Small gnome.
Don't call me small. I know I'm short. My name is Rith. I'm only going to give you the first name because I don't want to confuse you with the 6 other long names.
Yes, it is probably one of the boring ways of the city. That reminds me, in our tribe, our ways are not your ways. And I'm looking at both of you as I'm saying this. And I'm going, so our ways are not your ways. You should be careful, or else you might be rejected.
Careful is my middle name. One of my middle name. No, I'm not from the city. I'm from a wooded area, far outside of any city, and hardly on the map, really. I'm not from around here. I guess you probably noticed that. I am unfamiliar with the people of this place, and I'm glad to meet new people.
Yes, it is nice to meet you too. Well, we will be here soon enough. I will take you to the sand drawer. He will show us what to do.
And you venture onward outside of the walls of Messhiba for maybe half an hour or so before you start to see the outside tents that form this Navandar tent city. And they are an ocean of color, just tents that it's difficult to tell where some of them begin and where some of them end, just because of the way that they're connected and laid out and arranged. Their peaks, the tent poles, occasionally kind of popping up amongst this sea of fabric, most of it very brightly colored, patterns of all kinds. And you're having a difficult time, aside from Shava, the two of you are having a difficult time seeing how you would even enter or exit this tent city other than just cutting your way in or just going under one of the tent walls. But before too long, Shava is able to direct you to a tent flap and opens. Go ahead.
Right before I open the flap for them, I'm going to turn around, and I have this look of visible excitement on my face. And I'm going to say, "Remember, as I told you, do not be tempted by the many wonders you will see in here." And then I throw the flap open.
Griff walks straight in without hesitation.
And it truly is a spectacle to behold, especially if Khalid has never been inside of a Navandar camp or not. I don't know, but there's just things everywhere. It's a feast for the eyes. There's pillows arranged upon the floor, but the floors are not sand like you would expect in a tent. Instead, there's just layer upon layer of these very ornate rugs that are laid everywhere, sometimes at odd angles to one another even. But you don't see a single grain of sand anywhere in sight. But you see cloth draped all over the place, low tables, pillows that look like they're for lounging upon the floor, small kind of sway back chairs, and vessels that look like they hold any number of things, oils, water perhaps. And though none of the lighting fixtures are probably currently lit, many of them are incredibly ornate. The metalwork on them is very, very fine. And swirls and all kinds of beautiful patterns that you can tell that if they had been lit would cast the most bizarre shadows. The overall feeling that you get coming through this first tent is one of comfort, one of ease. Definitely luxury is probably what crosses your mind. Shava is able to kind of lead you through a veritable maze, through these different rooms and even tunnels, hallways and such that seem to be made entirely of this tent fabric. And before long, you find yourselves having a difficult time determining exactly where you came from and kind of what direction you may be pointed in. You very much kind of get the feeling that you may be kind of in this, turned around in this labyrinthine display. But eventually, Shava, you are able to lead them back to where you've been staying, kind of in the heart of the tent city, where you last left your charge, the sand drawer. And if you would describe kind of what the tents and arrangements look like as you're making this approach, this final approach to where you've been staying.
Yeah. So, first of all, something I'm curious about is if I recognize either of these people from what the sand drawer has shown me.
Perhaps.
Okay.
The drawing is a little more abstract, a little more
Uh-huh.
stylized. So I'll leave that up to you.
Cool. So as we've been walking through this maze, I've been basically holding both of you by the hand and kind of like chivying you along through back alleys and twists and turns of all kinds. And I've been like, scooping up hands of roasted dates to put in your hand. And like I point out a particularly strange creature that's in a cage over on a stall or something. But I'm never stopping. I'm always ever pushing you onward. And we get to this place where it seems like there aren't any bazaars happening anymore, and it's more like there are residences, and then it's not even that there are residences anymore. It gets to this place where it's a really cramped hallway or pathway between several tents that twists and turns, and you can hardly even stand abreast. You kind of have to sidle through. And then she has you duck under this flap, and you come into this room that's notable because it's the only room that you've seen this entire time that has sand in it. And there's a section of the carpet that's been parted. And there's sand there, but it's this ornate symbol, this ornate image. And you look at Shava and you realize that she's got this brooch on her chest. It's almost more like a badge. It's this broad golden disc. And you hadn't seen it when you first met her, but it's on her now. You never saw her put it on. And it looks a lot like this symbol that's been created on the floor using colored sand. And then there's this this old Navendar who is sitting in the corner, I guess. And I think he's asleep. And so Shava will come in and, yes, please sit. And she like points you to some cushions. And she says, I will see if the sand drawer can give us a new image.
Rith is going to check under his pillow for spiders.
And he certainly finds none there.
But she looks at you and she says, don't worry, there are no scorpions here.
Other than me, of course.
So this older Navendar is seated on the far side of the room and is kind of hunched over with his chin against his chest and a blanket thrown over his shoulders. And there's kind of an arrangement of shallow bowls kind of laid out in front of him, each one of them looking like they contain a different color of fine sand. And he's very still, very quiet. And at first you think that, yes, he must be sleeping. But Shava, after a moment, he doesn't rouse. He doesn't even move.
Shava would approach to the respectfully intimate distance, or intimately respectful distance, maybe you'd say. But if it's close enough to like put her hands on his forearms or something, that's all she needs to do.
Sure.
And she'll gently, tug him or whatever. And, Master, are you awake?
When you reach out and you touch the flesh of his arm, you find it cold. Alarmingly so.
Yeah. I shudder. And I look hard at his face. I don't know if I need to make like a perception check for this or what, but I scrutinize his face and I try to see like into his eyes, if they're open or closed. Even if they're closed, I would want to like try and see through the eyelids,
Yeah, getting kind of down close to the ground so that you can kind of peer upwards into his drooped face. You see that his eyes are in fact open and that they are glossed over. That he stares not at the floor but beyond it.
Yeah. So Shava is going to reach up and close his eyes and then look away. And Khalid and Rith, you can hear just barely under her breath, she says, "The sands shift always, even for you, Master." And then she turns back to you and she says, "Well, we are safe from the storm, at least."
And Khalid will just look over and say, "Do you need a moment, or are you okay?"
Thank you. I am fine.
I'm sorry for your loss, but I do have to ask, is this a rare occurrence or does this happen about once a week?
What do you mean? My master has never died before.
Just checking. You know, it doesn't hurt to find out.
So I want to also scrutinize this image that he made this morning. I took a look at it and I recognized some elements from it earlier, but I want to really scrutinize this thing and see if I missed anything.
Yeah, so you might even just now realize that the image that has been there for the past week or several weeks or so throughout his bout with this latest illness, that the image, while at first glance is very similar, that you took it for granted of being the same, that it is in fact different, that there were changes made. And he must have roused from his slumber long enough to craft this latest picture. And in looking about it, you see, as I said, these elements of an epic that you have never heard tale of before. You see, and the other two of you likewise are able to kind of start noticing these things depicted in the colored sand laid out on the ground. You see signs of, or images of, a great blue dragon as these individuals took parts of it, of its hoard, and sailed away on a ship on the sands itself. And another image of a grand city by the river as the waters began to flood into the area. You see images of golden robes and silver masks. You see a scene that looks like this same sand sailing ship sailing on the water with an enormous winged crocodile, easily as large as the boat, engaged in ferocious combat with the denizens of the ship. You see an old and ruined tomb with an enormous giant mummy, and these individuals facing it down, smiting it. You see the image that is often associated with your people for Yabala, the goddess of water, is featured very prominently in one location. And then you see what is a stylized representation of the city of Messhiba. And you see in the skies above Messhiba, you see radiant blue ibises and black shadows kind of swirling around one another. And then the last image that you see is dark storm clouds over one of the large pyramids that you may or may not recognize as the tombs of Deshara. And you can see these figures making their way in that direction.
So Shava is going to point out, this is Messhiba. It is no question. And you mentioned a sand ship, but the rest, I don't know.
I imagine like Khalid had was holding one of his daggers in his hand, just fiddling with it. And when he starts looking at this image, he just drops it onto the ground, it clatters or clunks against the rugs on the ground in the sand. Hangs open. If Shava were to look at him, it would look like he had seen a ghost.
What do you see?
I see my life for the last few weeks to a T.
She stands and walks over to you slowly, and she puts a hand on your shoulder, and she says, "The Sandrar showed me my life too. You too can be an acolyte of the shifting sands."
You'll kind of brush your hand away. Since I want no part in your witchcraft. I don't know how you got all this information, what you plan to do with it.
Chris is going to take this moment to pull out his journal of everything he's been documenting since he started his journeys, and he's flipping through. And it's yeah, I remember that. I was there for this, and that too. These images, everything here. I have it written right here. And then he stops and he thinks. Was he watching us? Or does he shape fate itself?
No. You must understand, the Sandrar, he draws with the sands, and they reveal things to him. That is all of it.
So he does not tell our future. He tells of our journeys. He hears through the sand.
Yes, he sees images, and the images speak truth.
Then there's no denying that we must be the people you have sought. Fate has certainly brought us together for some reason or another.
But I do not know for what he was searching.
Heroes to vanquish a great evil, perhaps?
Does that seem like something he would hope for? Or search for? I'm asking the GM.
I don't know. It's possible. Things as of late have certainly taken kind of a turn for the worst, at least in the eyes of your tribe, and probably individually as well. I mean, your tribe is either dead or scattered.
Yeah.
At this point.
I'm sure he's at least felt a disturbance in the force.
Exactly.
I imagine at this point, Khalid is just his eyes are just staring at those blue ibises. You can understand how somebody might have gotten the other images, because you could have just been you could have been a stowaway on the ship or something. But that part was a vision that he saw in his dreams. There's no way that somebody should have seen that part of his mind. He's just kind of fixed on those blue birds, those glowing blue birds above Messhiba. Just like he can't look away from them. It's like a bad car accident.
Speaking of blue things that fly, one thing that that I have failed to bring up, Shava, is that these individuals that you've been kind of escorting, they do have a blue dragon hatchling accompanying them.
Like just out in the open.
Yep. Yeah, he's just kind of flying around and occasionally will light upon the ground and walk after them.
In a tent city. You monsters.
Well, what we actually did was we let him unfold his black cloth thing that he was using as a pit. We let him jump inside, and now we're carrying the cloth in our pocket. Pocket dragon.
This is the little
Yeah, yeah, this is him. Yeah, he's not entirely keen on that, and he informs you that I can't survive very long in there. The air runs out. My lungs may be small, but they are, just like me, very powerful.
Yeah, so I think she would immediately connect the blue dragon with the blue dragon in the image. So yeah, I guess she would say, "Oh yes, and here, the blue dragon. Why do you have one with you?" And she's kind of pissed that you have one in here.
Well, when the blue dragon's mother tells you to retrieve its child or suffer its wrath, you tend to listen. But trust me, I don't want it with me any more than you want it here.
So do you know what this means with the horde that these people are taking from the dragon?
Yeah, we had a run-in with some pirates at one point before we had our sand ship. But we didn't know they were pirates. We knew they were slavers. Didn't know they were dicks about it. Long story short, we booked passage on a sand ship because we didn't have one of our own, seeing as how we were shipwrecked, and ended up in a tomb. We took some things from that horde, including this hatchling that we have with us. And
After you knocked me unconscious,
I only held you down. It was everybody else that beat up on you.
At that point,
I feel the need to clarify that I was not yet traveling with these people when they did this.
well, yeah. She's definitely like backing away at this point, and she was kind of crouched down, I think, looking at the sands in more detail, and she sees that she almost like falls back on her ass and starts like crab walking away almost, and she's like, "You have stolen from a dragon, and you have brought terrible danger to us, and the sands."
As if on cue, you all hear a low noise, and the tent cloth around you kind of shudders as if a wind has just blown over.
Can I make either an insight or a religion check to know what this is?
Yeah, I would say probably either nature or insight.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll do insight. That's going to be a 21.
Yeah, apparently at some point. Why don't you actually tell me, Shava, when have you been in the presence of a large dragon before as it has flown over?
You know what? I'm pretty sure that's how my entire village was destroyed in a dragon attack. And this Sandrar is the one who found me a long time ago. I was like on the like I taught Sandrar by him, but and been grateful and I've given them mercies. And so, yeah, the last time I was around a dragon, it was death, death and destruction.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think you kind of
My internet.
yeah, I went a little bit of robot-y, but I think we got the idea. From what I gathered, your tribe was hit once before and was decimated, and this individual, this elderly Navindar that we just saw the passing of, had saved you, and then kind of raised you from that point onward.
Well, yeah, the only note is that I didn't really need to be I was basically already an adult. Can you still not hear me?
It's still doing it. Yeah.
Oh, bummer. Okay, let me see what I can do. But yeah, otherwise that was fine.
Okay. Yeah, I think it sounded like
Just
you
got
were
a little
already
better
an adult.
towards the end. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. As soon as you made your apology, that was crystal clear.
God dang, is it back? Am I
It
good?
seems like it.
Okay.
You're good.
Well, we'll see.
Well, Rith is going to interject and say, technically speaking, though, it wasn't our fault. It was Khalid's idea. Not Khalid, Kaliba. It was Kaliba's idea to take the dragon in the first place. And then he marooned us and went and sold it off. So we've been spending some time tracking him down and getting him back for Mama.
If I remember correctly, you still had no fault with taking a large handful of the money for yourself, regard.
Oh no, it's spreading.
Fortunately, Noctos has been keeping all said treasure separate from the rest of the party in a big pot. So all we had to do was give it back with the dragon and call it a day.
There's another shudder of the tents as you hear the sound again.
I'm gathering up my belongings immediately. Oh man, no, I gotta very hurriedly. I'm running over and I'm laying the master in a funerary position. I might not be able to bury him, but at least I can put him in the right position and put a carpet over him or something appropriate.
Sure, yeah, you have time to kind of give it a quick approach, if you will.
Yeah.
How familiar would you say through one walkthrough, Rith will remember the way back out of the tents?
Well, that's all going to depend on what you roll on the die.
Oh man.
What kind of check would that be?
I would say probably insight.
Insight. Okay, well, I'm going to roll an insight check. Let's see what I get here. Because I want to find my way out, and I don't want to have to disturb Shava for it. That's a 21 on insight.
Apparently, Rith was paying very close attention, and he thinks he's fairly certain, at least, that he can find his way at least in the general direction of how to get out of here.
All right. Then Rith's like, all right, well, I'm not waiting around for the dragon to incinerate the tent while we're in it. I'm going to start. So Rith's going to start leading the hatchling back out of the city if he can.
Yeah, the hatchling is kind of almost cackling. Says, "Oh, you're in trouble now. I recognize the beats of those wings. That's Mama." There's a soft thud that kind of sends tremors through the area. As you're guessing that Bashira Jet, the glass blower, has probably landed nearby. You hear you hear her call out, "Where is my youngling?"
Well, I'm terrified.
Rith, better idea. How about we just cut a hole in the tent and walk straight outside? Be faster.
You know what? Yeah, Shava looks at you, and then she seems to come to her senses, and then she produces her scimitar. And she kind of like nods her head. But
So the
still,
plan-
follow me. I know a shortcut.
So the plan is to cut your way and head towards where the dragon is waiting.
Well, I mean, either we die hiding in tents or we die standing in front of a dragon. Either way, if we're gonna die, we're gonna die. This is the moment.
Well, and I think that's a good plan too.
Yeah, I mean, Khalid's nervous about the fact that it's a dragon, but has no dog in this fight as far as he doesn't have any of the stolen goods, so he feels comfortable going ahead with them as well.
So it takes just a moment as you kind of cut through several sections, layers, if you will, of this tent city. And as you cut away the last bit of cloth, you see Barishajet in all her...
Wait just a second. I actually would like to use one of my spell slots and cast Fog Cloud.
Ah, very nice. Okay.
Fog Cloud is 20-foot radius sphere. Lasts for up to 1 hour, depending on my concentration. And I want to create, right at the edge of the tent city, I want to create a like a fog of sand, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it will obscure vision, but I want to be able to get out of the tents and get to where we can gradually expose ourselves to the dragon, so that she doesn't know we're necessarily right where we are right from the beginning.
Okay, sure. So you kind of give this obscured area outside of where you cut free, and you summon it up as you're kind of stepping out. And it not only obscures Barishajet from being able to pinpoint exactly where you guys are, but it also obscures her from you. But as you exit the denser part of this sand fog cloud, you're able to see just how big this beast is. Khalid and Rith, the two of you have met before. And last time you were too close to come for comfort, but this time you're even closer still. You're effectively in the shadow that she is casting upon the ground from the starlight above. And she kind of looks down, this reflective lightning kind of dancing in the black orbs that are her eyes. And the blue dragon hatchling beside you kind of flits into the air and kind of excitedly flies up towards its mother. And it tries to kind of nuzzle against her, and her eyes never leave all of you. You have returned, my hatchling. For this, you have my thanks. The gratitude of an ancient is nothing to be taken lightly. But I still smell my horde upon you. You, some of you, are thieves. How do you answer?
Khalid takes a large step away from the rest of the party and looks at them.
Likewise, Shava takes a step away too.
Leaving Rith to be the only negotiator. Thanks. So Rith pulls out his journal and he looks back at his notes from when he was in the Dragon's Lair in the first place, and he gets kind of an idea of how much treasure and how much stuff they actually took out of the Horde. And he says, I have a record right here of how much we took from your Horde. Unfortunately, we can only give you back however much we kept. Me and my two allies over here, Noctos and Sigrid. Civis has met with an untimely fate, and whatever he may have had on him is long gone. The rest of it, pirates made off with, and I am assuming they have met with a terrible fate as well. I have no idea what that portion of the Horde went, but I can give you back what we have taken from you.
She kind of cranes her head way, way down and turns her head somewhat slightly sideways so she can eye this, what to her is a very tiny book. You keep detailed records, gnome. I find this admirable.
Yes, oh great, Birachajet. As someone has to document our adventures, I mean, I wouldn't, when somebody forgets an important name or location we've been to, or how much we've grown from our adventures, somebody's got to remember all of that so that we can look back and say, hey, I remember that. Like we were just reminiscing about our adventures about 2 minutes ago before you showed up. And we kind of saw you coming from a distance.
I see. I find it amusing that creatures of your level of capabilities stole from me. And I use the word amusing very lightly. It seems as though, in the scheme of things, that you have but a small portion, minuscule. I am willing to overlook this trespass in light of the return that has been made. And she kind of turns for the first time and looks in the direction of the hatchling. But these pirates that you have decided to roll over upon, we will find them. And when I locate where they are, there will be nothing but their charred husks. I do not recommend that you are anywhere in their vicinity.
Understood. At the moment, we do have more important things to deal with than pirates. So we're not even searching for them anymore. Like I said, I think they've already met with a terrible fate, double-crossing us and double-crossing a dragon. We have returned your greatest, the most, we have returned the item of your Horde that is worth the most to you. And we will not return to your Horde again.
The hatchling kind of flits about his mother's head, and he says, oh, don't forget, they have a hole that folds up, and it's filled with treasure, too.
That's your hole. I thought you had that.
I believe Noctos is currently carrying it.
Isn't he passed out?
I would say that maybe he lays it out.
Okay, let him do it.
And I believe that there was I guess you could call it an arrangement for a certain percentage of it to that the hatchling had claimed as his own.
I believe in the hatchling made a deal at some point, maybe in the orphanage.
From what I have written here, all that belongs to us would be the armor that we took off of the undead paladin. That's all that Noctis dropped in there. As far as the rest of the riches, I guess Rith wasn't paying attention for that conversation.
It maybe the group had decided to just let the hatchling claim it all. That may be the case.
I'm sure Noctis had plans.
As far as I remember, Khalid had made no claim to anything. He's not really much for money. He has the Kopesh that he took from the paladin thing, but that wasn't part of the deal.
Okay. So the armor is removed from the portable hole as it is kind of laid out on the ground and forms this 10-foot deep pit. Somebody climbs down inside or what have you and retrieves the armor and then folds the cloth back up and presents it to either the hatchling or its mother, I would guess. Rith, are you the one that's doing this presentation?
Yes, Rith is doing the magic show with the magic cloth and the magic hole, the magic treasure inside.
Okay. So you hand it over, and Barisha Jet kind of ignores the gesture and instead turns towards the hatchling. She says, "It is time that you have started your own horde. This will do as a foundation, but you must carry it." The hatchling kind of looks with wide eyes for a moment and then kind of nods excitedly, flits down and takes the black cloth. And then the hatchling kind of starts fluttering its wings, kind of taking off. And she unfurls her wings, which are easily as large as several of these tents put together. And she says, "Our business is at a close. Hope that our paths do not cross again." And she beats her wings and lifts up into the night sky, and is soon difficult to find amongst the stars.
And as she's out of sight, Rith whispers, "May you live 1,000 more years, you stingy flying dragon."
Khalid releases a breath that he didn't know he was holding, just and breathing heavy for a moment.
Is there anything that Shava does or has to say about this situation?
She faints.
Fair enough.
All in a day's work. I mean, we're about to be facing a god which is greater than any dragon.
So she
You're much
eventually
too calm about things beyond your control.
Life
Go
is
ahead,
too
Eli.
fun for us gnomes to stress all the time.
Yeah, you have more important things to focus on, like names.
I only remember part of my relatives' names.
So Shava will come to at this point, and she'll kind of rub her eyes and look up at you. What did I just witness? Are you figures from the prophecy of the shifting sands?
Technically, we're all branded by Yabala to be her champions. So, like I said, I think this is just some small feat in what we're about to face.
And here you are in Messhiba. And then she kind of looks away again. What did the storm clouds mean?
The clouds were centered over the tomb. The tombs far to the north and far to the west. That is where we are headed, actually, once we find a means to get there. The priestesses, the priests and priestesses of the god of death, I think they may have left there. For what? It's hard to say.
This is very dangerous. So Jeremy, how would I determine if there's some means of transportation available? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I'm going to look at look at the group of them, I guess. The shifting sands have brought you to me, and the shifting sands have revealed great truths. And you are behind these truths. I will help you. I know of a place where there are horses. Come, follow me.
Khalid will just kind of a surprised expression will come across his face, but he'll just nod and follow.
Rith seems a bit confused about the idea of horses in the desert, because typically you think desert equals camels.
As we're walking and you're saying that, she says, no, these horses have very large feet.
Because that makes it more normal.
In all actuality, horses are actually very good at traversing sand. Not quite as good as camels, but Arabian horses are expert pack animals and riding animals in the desert.
Or beats riding an ass.
Hey-o.
I kept myself in check because I was going to say something, and yeah, I'm glad I didn't. So anyways, Shava turns and is able to kind of lead you somewhat back into the tent city, heading towards a place that was a stable just on the other side of the wall, not that far from where the tent city was located. However, a portion of the wall collapsed sometime during all of this ruckus that has been transpiring in Messhiba lately. And from where the wall collapsed, it actually trapped the horses in to this stable area, but it also formed a barrier that the undead seemingly have not been willing to overcome or have not been able to overcome, one of the two. So the horses are still alive. Perhaps Shava has even been maybe going by to make sure that they have water and feed and things of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah, I've named them. Comp. One of them is Sand Slash. No, I'll have to come up with names. I will, but I don't have any right now.
Fair enough. So you make your way that direction, but just before you get to the place where the break in the wall is, a noise kind of brings you all up short. You're fairly certain that you hear talking, and it's getting closer.
I mean, I would if there's a place nearby where the talking is coming from that I could hide or something, maybe get closer and listen in, I would definitely do that.
Yeah, again, you're kind of still amongst some of the outskirts of the tent city, so there's still plenty of places to hide and things of that nature. And whoever is speaking is definitely approaching the side of the tent city that you're currently in, and all of you would probably find this a little odd, as you haven't really come across very many living things anywhere near Messhiba, at least recently.
Rith is going to take this moment to stand behind a rock.
And just as you kind of tuck yourself away, if you will, and grow quiet and still, you, from a vantage point, are able to see what looks like a patrol of soldiers making their way towards you. However, it doesn't take you long to realize that though they are carrying weapons and look to have some bits of armor at least, these are not living individuals. And that is where we're going to take our break. So, thank you everybody for tuning in so far. Hopefully you are all having as much fun as I am. Hopefully my three lovely players are also having a lot of fun. So yeah, I guess hang out for just a bit. We'll be back and we'll get this thing all wrapped up for the evening. I have a feeling it might be kind of a short session, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But give us about 10 minutes. We'll go to the bathroom, refill drinks, things of that nature, and then we will come right back and hit it again. All right, all right, all right. Give everybody just another couple of minutes before they get back. Oh, there's
Back
Yvonne.
at it.
Yes, sir. And I know that we are approaching the time when you were saying you might need to hop off. So,
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I might need to.
yeah, just whenever you got to go. Not a worry.
Sounds good, man. It's been great so far, though. I kind of don't want to leave. It's.
I'll take that as a compliment then. Good.
I'll be honest. I haven't really seen any of the other episodes, and so getting like an overview like that in the form of a vision, but also having a run-in with a freaking blue dragon. Oh,
that was dude, like, wait, what? What is the hell? What ship am I on?
Yeah, no joke. Yeah, Shava's probably a little nervous to be wrapped up with these goons, but we'll see how it goes.
And we've been through worse. The dragon has been somewhat leaving us alone. I mean, only showing up every other session.
Oh, well, great.
She's been a main character. I think she'll be back in 2 sessions from now.
Or sooner. Or now.
Maybe.
Or later in the session.
We shall see.
It's not terrifying at all.
The only terrifying is she wants to kill us.
Oh, yeah, well, when you put it that way.
Yeah, whenever I started putting stuff together for this campaign, one of the things that obviously I kept seeing repeatedly in the mythology and stuff that I was reading about was just how integrated the pantheon was in all of their storytelling. Like there was hardly ever a story that I came across where the pantheon wasn't involved in some facet.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I decided pretty early on that I wanted to have some interactions that were a little unusual for the kind of levels that we were going to be. And obviously, you have to kind of do that in ways that are not straight combat, because otherwise it would be a very short campaign.
Right.
Yeah. Nothing like getting toasted at level 4.
What? You saying a party of level 3 people can't take out an ancient blue dragon? Come on, bring it on.
You have to cheat.
With some lucky rolls, you never know.
Extremely lucky rolls.
Delete of their own.
D&D is a game of possibilities, Jeff.
Yeah, but one breath weapon attack and we're all in the way. We're all gone. Just
that's probably likely though.
I don't think a party of all level 20s, just the 4 of us, could take on a blue dragon.
Maybe. So we have everybody back. At least everybody that we're going to be having for this evening. So let's get back to it. So where we left off, the 3 of you at least, Noctos and Secret are there. They're just, drooling in the corner. You are kind of hidden away either behind a rock or amongst some of these tents near the edge of this Navandar tent city. And you've heard this patrol approaching and only just realized that this patrol is not soldiers, at least in the traditional sense. And some of you, especially Khalid, you're used to seeing undead used in military service here in Messhiba, because the Baklan people, that's just kind of what they do with their undead. But these are different. The Unleashed that you saw roaming in the streets that you fought some of behaved differently. They weren't as I don't know, laconic seems like the wrong word, but as docile. They were more feral, if you will. And these, while they definitely do seem regimental, they're not the kind of undead soldiery that you're used to seeing. These are definitely more of this unleashed kind of undead. However, these are walking around carrying weapons, which is not something that you've seen thus far. And if what you heard moments before is to be believed, they were just talking, which is definitely unusual. So as this little patrol is advancing towards where you're waiting, what, if anything, are the three of you doing?
Java's in disbelief, and because I don't imagine that she's really seen many of these before, and I don't even know that she's seen enough of them to be able to tell that it's weird that they're holding weapons. I think she's like almost totally green with these things, and so she's like looking at them, and then she's looking back at these two other guys, and she's like, "Oh, what?"
Yeah, and in complete contrast to the situation with the blue dragon and like the vision, like all these different things that have thrown Khalid off his game, like these are like old hack for him. So he just kind of looks over. I imagine he sees Shava's surprised look and is just almost confused, like just gives like a shrug, like as if it was like just random people.
They are dead.
Yes.
Do they have a weakness?
They may be dead, but we can still kill them.
This is good to know. I think at that point I would probably just wait for an opportunity and then maybe try to do a sneak attack on them.
Meanwhile, Rith is behind a rock by himself, and he's having conflicting thoughts. First thought is, okay, they're talking. It's not the first time I've seen talking undead. He's thinking to himself, not the first time I've seen talking undead. Upon first arriving in Messhiba, he remembers back when some of the guards passed him by and told him to get out of the way and stepped over him. And they were undead, but typically undead don't talk. And these are the unleashed, which were feral back in Messhiba not even a day ago. So he's trying to figure out what's going on. Why are they focused? Why are they out here?
So it sounds as though the plan may be to lie in wait and spring an attack on them as they get close enough. Okay. So let's go ahead and get initiatives rolled, if you would. You can just post them in the chat. And just kind of, as you get prepared, just let me know what kind of an ambush that you're planning, because you guys will effectively have a full round for yourselves.
So I'm imagining that we are like, there's like a corridor or a street, like an alleyway type thing that they're walking down, and there are these ruined walls, but they're fairly, like maybe chest high or something like that. We're kind of hiding behind some of those. So my part of the attack would be to like vault up and then do a flip over them and attack from above.
Okay, almost like kind of up and over the wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many are there? There are only 2, right?
No, there are 4 of them in total. One of which looks like it may be the leader.
Okay. Yeah, then I would focus my energy on the leader.
Okay. So Khalid
Khalid
like,
is sorry.
No, I was just going to say, it looks like they come upon you first.
So Khalid would actually, in this instance, would defer to wait for Shava to go as well, actually.
Okay.
Kind of lying in wait to kind of jump out, kind of like in a joint attack.
Okay, absolutely. Okay, then Shava, it is to you.
All right, so in that case, then I will go ahead and vault over this wall and attack this dude. Do I get a sneak attack bonus for this, since it's a surprise?
Yeah, you would have advantage on the attack roll made, and then
Excellent.
if it hits, yeah, you would be able to apply your sneak attack to it.
Nice. Okay. God, I'm gonna spend inspiration. That was painful. My highest was a 10. Let me try this again. Jesus, that wasn't any better. It was worse. Yeah, then I guess my highest was a 10.
Okay, so as you vault up and over this rock, this partial wall to try to get the spring on this this undead leader, there's a shift in the rock of one of the stones of the wall under your weight, and it makes just the slightest noise, and this leader spins about and produces a great axe up between the two of you and stops your attack dead in its tracks. And this leader kind of looks like this. And it just kind of sneers at you with these exposed skeletal teeth and these hollowed out eye sockets. Khalid, you said you were waiting for Shava to spring. And
Yes,
sprung
and
she has, so.
Yeah, seeing her jump into action, Khalid will immediately kind of roll over the top of the wall as well, and then kind of try to come in at this the side, hoping to take him out while he's distracted by Shava. And my attacks with advantage from the surprise round. The first one is going to be a 23 after everything's said and done. And then my second attack will actually be a crit. So
Excellent. Yes, the 23 will absolutely hit, and then obviously the crit will as well.
yeah, so as Khalid comes in his right hand, he has that gold kopesh, the one that they found in the Temple of Nerull. He's decided he's going to give that a go. Kind of gives it a swing while still hiding to kind of test the weight of it, and then as he springs forward, just goes to cut at it, and then as he makes a slash, he kind of rotates around the back of this figure and stabs it in the back with the dagger sinking just deep in. So that's everything said and done. It's going to be 9 damage from the Kopesh, which is magic, if that matters. And then 8 damage from the crit with the dagger, which is non-magic.
All right, so that is 17. Is that correct?
17 total, yeah.
All right, excellent. Okay, so yeah, both of your weapons kind of plunge into this this being. The sword. Kind of glowing with this soft golden light. And he kind of turns about, more just kind of a pivot of his head than an actual rotation of his body in your direction, away from Shava. The sword's name is Threadreaper. I don't know. Do you have all the stats on it?
Yep, I do.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, if it hits it Hunter's marks it essentially.
Okay, cool. So yeah, what does it look like as the hunter's mark kind of falls upon this creature?
So I imagine like the blade is kind of glowing with this with that subtle golden energy, the blade itself being basically entirely gold as well. And as it cuts, you see like the shine of the blade in his hand kind of seems to dull a little bit. You can see this slash mark across its side, kind of from the top of its rib cage down, like into its hip. Like the edges of the wound seem to glow with this golden light as well, as if like the light had been transferred through the slice into this thing's body. You can kind of see this golden energy emanating into it, linking it to the blade.
For certain. And as this thing's head has kind of pivoted in your direction, Khalid, it opens its mouth and speaks at you. You're the bearer of thread, Reaper. I will not sit idly by. You will be pressed into service. You will wash my armor and sharpen my blades. You will be my squire. Rith, your turn.
Rith has been unnoticed behind the rock this whole time, correct?
Yes, it seems so.
Okay. Well, he's not going to try anything fancy because the rock is already too high for him to climb up with his scrawny little arms. So he's just going to transform into the medium-sized scorpion behind the rock, which would quite possibly push it off to one side and thus reveal where he is at that
Okay, yeah.
So that's the bonus action. And then the leader of these Unleashed is currently distracted between Shava and Khalid, correct?
Yeah, I would definitely say so.
Okay, I'm not going to bowl them over, but I imagine the other three are probably focused on them as well. So Red's going to come up behind one of them and do 2 claw attacks and attempt to grapple.
Okay, both of these attacks will still be at advantage since you guys have surprised this round.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Okay, well, one of those is an 11 with advantage. This is a 17.
Okay, the 11 unfortunately will miss. The 17, however, will bypass the shields that these things carry and manage to deal them damage to him.
All right. He's going to take 5 bludgeoning damage, and I'm going to attempt a grapple as well.
Okay, and so what do you need from me?
DC 12 check.
And he gets athletics or acrobatics, I believe.
I didn't read that part.
These things are not all that athletic.
It just says an escape of DC 12.
Yeah, I believe it's either.
It would be either or for escape.
So this thing, what does it look like as you manage to get one claw on this thing and trap it, essentially?
Well, not the leader. It's one of the other regular soldiers. Yeah, that thing. While their attention is turned towards Khalid and Shava, you know that they're looking away from Rith, who's coming up behind them, scuttling through the sands, and then as quiet as he can be, and then he just around its waist. Tried to get the arms, but his pincers are a little too small, so just grabbed it around the waist to try and hold it in place. I imagine it's gonna attempt to turn around, like, whoa, wait a second, what's going on here? But it can't. But it knows it's grappled, but it can't turn around to find out why.
And where your claw has kind of pinched down on this thing's abdomen, the paper-like skin just collapses underneath, and you basically just close in down onto the vertebrae as this thing just has very little substance because it's so dried out. Okay, so that brings us to the top of the round, and the leader actually has actually both of them, the leaders and the soldiers, have a decently high initiative. The leader is actually going to have the chance to go first. He kind of looks about at the situation, and he says, "We're surrounded. Leave the desert crawler. Kill these two first. This one." And he points at Khalid. "Khalid, if you would please. Make a dexterity saving throw."
That is a 22.
Excellent. Okay, so you'll be able to see this coming. As he kind of looks in your direction and points at you, he speaks a word that basically is kind of like devour. It's kind of an old form of the word. And as he does so, the ground beneath your feet begins to open and into a 5-foot deep pit. And suddenly, scarabs, hundreds of them, burst out of the sand and begin climbing all over your body. You manage to jump out of the way of the pit and avoid falling in it, but some of the scarabs spilling over the sides of this thing do manage to nip at your flesh, though they have yet to burrow into you. You are going to take half of the damage because you succeeded in your saving throw, which equals 8 points of piercing damage. That area is riddled with these things as they are swarming all over the place, and there's a rather large hole in the ground. Okay. It is their turn. The one that is currently being grappled by Rith is going to basically swivel around. The sound of carapace scraping against bone kind of fills the area as this thing forces itself around, despite the pain that it would cause a living creature. It looks down at you, Rith, and it opens its mouth wider than it probably should and begins to just inhale sharply. If you would please, Rith, make a Constitution saving throw. What you got? 4. Okay. So unfortunately, that is not going to be good enough to pass, as this thing uses its wilting inhale, and you feel 3 points of necrotic damage kind of wash over you as moisture is pulled from your very body. And you also need to put a star on the top of your sheet, if you would, please. The other 2 soldiers move into place, one on each of you, Khalid and Shava. These are brandishing kopeshes. One of them will come up to you, Shava, and swing its kopesh. What is your armor class?
15.
Or a 15? Okay. That is a 16. So it's going to hit you for slashing damage to the tune of 6 points as this kopesh kind of rakes across an exposed part of your flesh. The other one closes with you, Khalid. And the answer to your question is yes, Jess. What is your armor class?
I'm at 15 right now.
Okay. And it misses. You're able to kind of duck under as this Kopesh swings up over your head. So that is all of them. And that brings us to... Oops. He just stepped away. Okay. That brings us to Khalid.
So Khalid kind of, as he's jumped away from this pit that's formed up, begins trying to like swipe scarabs off of him, kicking them and smacking them into the desert sands. And then he kind of has like a sudden light bulb moment as he reaches down into one of his pouches in his cloak, pulling out the death mask that they had taken from the temple, slipping it on to his face. Like it covers his face, but like you could still like feel his grin form underneath it. And then he speaks out towards this thing that spoke to him. You approach us, demand that I be put into your service. You're not even fit to be my squire. The grave is where you came from, and it's the only place left for you. And then I'm going to activate the mask to cast a protection from evil on undead with this mask. And I don't, since it's the first time Khalid has ever seen it, what would the mask using this ability look like, Jeremy? This protection from undead?
I don't know. You tell me. What does it look like, at least for Khalid's specific mask? Unless you just don't feel like describing it, in which case I will certainly take it over.
So I imagine that, like, you know, you would think like most like protection spells are typically going to be like radiant focused, but these are death masks. So like I imagine that it's not even like there's no like holy aura. In fact, it's probably almost like a shadowy aura. Like he's not protected because of the life, but the force of death itself keeping the animating force of undead like away. So it's like just this shadowy black aura like begins to spill from him, masking him in the night, just kind of suppressing at that tendency for the dead to live, making it harder for them to approach him.
Yeah, and the leader kind of looks at this and at first almost kind of recoils as you don one of these masks. And he says, "Do not believe them. They may wear the masks of death. They are deceivers, one and all. Kill them. Bolster our ranks."
Alrighty, and technically the item says it's a bonus action. So if that's correct, I'd like to also make an attack.
Yes, you would be able to.
Awesome. Yeah, as this aura spills over him, just this avatar of death, just becoming one with him with this mask on. He will then charge forward with that Kopesh, going back towards this leader figure, and just goes to try to cut into him, and that's actually going to be a 23.
Yeah.
Jesus, that is a lot of damage.
Yep.
So it's 9 from the blade itself, 5 from the hunter's mark, and then 6 from the sneak attack. So it's going to be 20 damage.
Yeah, and he
just brings the blade up, it like slashing into this leader figure. And as it does so, I imagine like you see that wound where he had cut earlier, marked with the golden light. Like you see like a burst of that golden energy kind of ripple through him as the Kopesh activates its powers against him.
And as you bring down this second strike on this leader, what does it look like as you finish him off?
Awesome. So he basically he cuts down with the Kopesh just straight across the chest, like shoulder down to like opposite hip, just cutting his chest open, the undead, frail skin and bone underneath the blade. And as it does so, you see just a golden line traced along the wound, similar to the one before. As the Kopesh, the magical properties of the Kopesh kind of take hold in this creature. We see both of those wounds that he's given him so far with the Kopesh continue to glow with this golden light. And this leader is actually dissolved from the inside as this light basically like overtakes him, almost like paper burning would be. Just kind of slowly dissolves as if this light from this Kopesh has just disintegrated him. And then as that happens, he turns to the other undead with this mask on and this black visage taking hold over his form, and just begins laughing. Just
Fantastic. Take a point of inspiration, Jeff. Okay. As Khalid has finished off the leader, Shava, it is your turn.
Okay, so he's just finished off the leader. Now, let me. It's been a while since I played 5e. So, how many actions do I get in a round?
You get just one.
Just the one. Okay.
One normal action, but then you also have a bonus action and a reaction. Your move is separate from all of those things. Reaction does not have to happen on your turn. Usually, it does not. And then, you only get a bonus action if something specifically says that it costs a bonus action to utilize. Okay.
In that case, then, so I guess I never made it down to the street. I was going to jump over them and kind of land in their midst. So what I will do is do an aerial off of the top of this wall over these two. No, one of them attacked me. No, it's never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. So this thing attacked me, and I'm going to stagger backwards. And then almost as if it's keeping me from falling down all the way, this sand sweeps up behind me and kind of buffets me back up onto my feet. And at the same time, I just whip my hand and shoot my finger out in front of me. And three little drills of sand fly out toward the creature who attacked me. So this is going to be a magic missile spell.
Excellent. Very nice. Let's go ahead and roll that up.
Let me see. So do I need to roll to hit for this thing? It's a magic missile, right?
Not. Nope, just damage.
Perfect. All right, so this is all three of these, and here we go. That's going to be 7, 10 damage.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah, and what does it look like as these three missiles of sand kind of collide with this individual and end up killing it?
So they're shooting toward it, right? But they're also rotating around each other. So they're little drills, and they're drilling in this big thing. And they're all coming together to a point right when it gets to this undead creature's chest. And then they just drill into the chest immediately and burst from there. So you can actually see the chest cavity like expand for a second, and then the thing just collapses to the ground.
Nice. Okay. So that's the leader and one of the soldiers gone already. We now head over to Rith, where he is in the form of a medium-sized scorpion and has one of these things in his paw, claw, what have you. So what are you going to do, Rith?
Rith may have suffered some, unbeknownst to him, side effects from the previous attack. However, he maintains his hold. We'll find out what the star means later. He maintains his hold on this soldier, and using his free pincer, he's going to start swinging downwards, just bash his face in. I mean, what's left of it. I don't know how I could possibly miss at this close range, but
I believe you have advantage on him.
Not just grappled, I don't think. I think that's restrained.
Yeah. In this case, we'll say it gives you advantage.
Okay. If you insist. You're the DM. Okay, one is a 19 to hit. The other is a nat 20.
Excellent. What was the first one?
It was a 19.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, they both hit.
Okay. Anything special for 20?
Yeah, you double your damage. So you'll roll damage for the first one, which made contact, and then you'll roll damage for the second one, and then double it at the end.
All right. The first hit is 8. And the second one is, after doubled, also 8.
Okay. So what does it look like as you just dismantle this thing with your pincers?
Well, the first hit was strong, but it just wasn't strong enough. Although Rith figured, he thought he was hitting harder the second time, and just same force. Turns out he's not as strong as he thinks he is. But it was enough, as what was left of this paper thin skull is now just dust on the body that he's holding. It's like tosses it aside and moves on.
All right. And I believe, unless my math is wrong, that only leaves one of these soldiers left. You guys have very, very quickly dispatched this patrol force. And the last remaining one kind of turns and looks at the field. The battle has turned. He turns and begins running back in the direction that they came from. Okay. Shava, we're back to you.
I don't mean to be that guy, but technically it would be to Khalid if we're going by the initiative numbers.
Yeah, Khalid, you jumped into the initiative order after Shava during the first round. We skipped over Shava whenever Eli was away from the keyboard. So either one of you.
Okay.
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Go for it.
I didn't catch that, Eli. You were muted.
Oh, geez. Sorry. I was having the hardest time getting the hotkey to work. Anyway, so yeah, I think I would just... does it seem like I could catch it? Is it running faster than me, slower than me, kind of shambling? What's going on?
I don't know what your speed is, but it actually moves pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. You know what? These things haven't seemed very tough so far. So I'm going to make a ranged spell attack. That's a 16 to hit.
It will just bypass its shield and armor AC.
Nice.
So yeah, you'll hit it.
Nice. Okay. So this is 1d10 fire damage. So what's happening? I'm holding out my palm, and it's the palm that has that green glowing glass orb in it. And sand snakes around my arm, and it actually, whenever it gets to the globe, it hardens up, right? And it turns into this shard of glass. And then the glass superheats in a flash and launches off at him. So this is the firebolt spell. And that's going to be 5 damage.
Yeah, and it kind of just passes straight through a portion of this creature. But the creature is still running. It is definitely not enough to take it down. And Khalid, we are now to you.
So in its movement, did it, just so I can understand what I'm doing mechanically here, did it move and dash?
Yes.
Like how far did it make it? Okay.
Yeah.
So in that case, Khalid will start running, and after he kind of like builds up a few paces, he just begins just bounding through the sands with this almost absurd speed for a human. So I'm going to use a key point here, which will let me take the dash action as a bonus action over 80 feet worth of movement total here between my movement and my dash. Basically just like sprinting, just bounding through the desert, like sand kind of bursting off away, as if like the sand was pushing up to propel him forward at a faster speed. And as he gets close, he kind of bounds off of the sand, bringing up the Kopesh. And I'm just gonna basically try to like tackle slash this thing. And with an attack that's going to be 16, which I think hopefully
Yes.
should do it.
Yes, it just bypasses his AC, so it absolutely makes contact.
Man, my freaking damage dice tonight are on such a freaking roll. Jesus Christ. That is going to be 17 damage.
And what does it look like as you take down this straggler?
And so as it runs, this firebolt like just goes straight through its chest. Like you can see like the hole like through the desert atmosphere like through it. As Khalid just bounds through the sand, he leaps up, and as he's coming down, just takes this Kopesh in 2 hands and just brings it straight through this thing's neck, just like the bone and undead flesh just crumbling under the crack of it as he just like immediately beheads it. I almost imagine like you can like see like the mask with this like glowing black that he's brought out. Like as the body begins to like fall from the blow, like you can see it almost like age. Like it's already undead and kind of decrepit, but like even so, like it's almost as if like the passage of time wears on its body quicker as the skin just kind of flakes off and breaks away from its body, leaving nothing but like just like a rotten skeleton.
Absolutely. And you cut this thing down just as it was getting to this side gate of the city that you had used as a landmark earlier. And you kind of cut this thing down and look up, and your focus shifts from near to far because you see movement through the open gates way down the streets. Something is approaching. Something fast. And it takes a moment, but then you realize what it is. It's definitely more of these unleashed. And they seem to be riding down the street towards this gate, their eyes fixed on you. They are riding chariots, being pulled by undead horses. That is where we're going to end the session for tonight. So, thank you all very much for playing this evening. I hope you had as much fun as I did. This game, I love this game. I love the setting. It's so much fun to explore, to try out different things. And every time I sit down to play with you guys, it's an absolute joy. Eli, thank you very, very much for stepping in to help out. It was nice to have 3 people instead of just 2. And
yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it, and I'll gladly have you back anytime. We can keep Shava around, and you can become a permanent fixture in the game if you'd like, but we can discuss all that later.
Totally,
And,
yeah.
If you don't show up again, he'll just kill your character off like Civis.
It's true. That is usually the eventuality of most PCs that the players abandon. I can't keep extra baggage around. Can't do it. Yeah, before I wrap up everything here, I'm going to hand it back over to my players and give them the ability to do an outro if they so wish. Feel free to plug, promote anything you want. And yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and start in reverse order. We'll start with our guest this evening, Eli Kurtz.
Yeah, well, like I said, thanks a lot for having me on the show or the game. It was a really awesome time. Like I said, I'd never really experienced the setting before, and it's amazing. It's super cool. And it was great playing with you guys too. So yeah, my name's Eli. You can find me at mythicgazetteer.com. We are just about to publish a new book for Savage Worlds called The Blackwood. It's kind of a fantasy setting where Grimm's Tales meets Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Yeah, and that's all I got.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I was lucky enough to be a player in the Blackwood, actually before it was even Savage Worlds.
Yeah. Jeremy's been with me since almost the beginning. We used to use a system called Warrior, Rogue, and Mage. It was a good time.
Blackwood is a very unique, very fun setting. Eli is a hell of a game master, so definitely head over to his YouTube channel, check it out. It's just under his name, as far as I know, right? Eli Kurtz.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, perfect. And definitely, whenever Blackwood hits the market, if you didn't back it on Kickstarter, check it out. Absolutely, positively. And again, I will put a link to his channel down below. Add it to this video once everything wraps up here. All right.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you, Eli, very much. Once again, stepping in last minute. You put together a great character in a very short period of time, and it's always fun to play with you, man. So thank you. Second, let's head over to Jeff.
Chariots, really? Hit me with the chariots. No, but as always, a lot of fun. And yeah, thanks again as well from me to Eli for stepping in. Only second time getting to play with you, but both times, 2 out of 2, it's been super awesome. So very happy to have you here. It made that session a lot more fun. And yeah, it was a great time as always. I'm Jeff from YouTube channel Counterbalance. And we got a hell of a cliffhanger for next time.
Absolutely. Yeah, Jeff, always a pleasure, man. I play with you in a lot of games, and it's always fun. So yeah, I appreciate the being able to make it out tonight and play Khalid once again. And last but certainly not least, Trevor.
Oddly enough, when you said chariots, I was actually expecting they were riding in on your stolen sand ship. And
would have been good.
Chariots, I was like, wait. Chariots? Okay. Where did they get those on such short notice? But, you know, you're the DM, you make stuff up.
That's one of the beauties of the job, that's for sure.
As far as advertising goes, maybe I should make a channel just so I can advertise it. Because I ain't got anything to advertise. Support your local post office. Ship via letters and USPS.
Beautiful, Trevor.
Oh, I got.
I love it. Fantastic, man. No,
Guys, you're gonna promote something. Why
not? Yeah, I know that that you were a fairly new player coming into this game. I don't know how much exposure that you've had to D&D and the like before you started playing with this, but it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you better through the game. And for those of you who do not know, Trevor is married to my cousin. So he is a part of my family, although I haven't had the chance to spend much time with him because he does tend to live very far away from me.
That's only an hour. You can take
that's very far from me.
Major highways there. Right? We're not that distant.
But it has been a lot of fun getting to know you through gaming and just watching you grow as a player over the last several months. It's been a lot of fun.
Like I said, I'm not 100% new. I've played before. My first time was 3rd edition with my dad, and I only played one game. It was a one shot, and then I played 4th edition when I was in the Navy for a little bit. A couple different games of that, and then this. So I guess compared to people with 20 years experience, I am new.
Well, it's been fantastic, and to the 2 players that we were missing this evening, Sammy and Mike, we did miss you very much, and hopefully next time we will get you back in the fold. And yeah, I had an absolute blast, guys. Like I said, I love this setting. I love the chance that you guys are giving me to explore it and kind of try out new things. I've never seen D&D run in an Egyptian-based setting before, so I really am having a blast kind of looking at it through that lens, if you will. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot else. Brigade Con is right around the corner, November the 4th. Make sure that you sign up for it. It is absolutely free to register. You can even run a game, which is also free. They sell T-shirts and accept donations, 100% of which goes to Child's Play, which is a fantastic charity. and we'll get into that a little bit more closer to whenever Brigade Con comes around. I will be running a Ghostbusters game using a system of my own design that I put together from various other systems called the Expedition Engine. You can find a couple other videos on my channel here that were run using other variations of the system. And last but not least, oh, Jeff, can I tell them? Can I share the information?
Yeah.
Is it time? Okay.
It's time. Let's see it.
Jeff Doty and I have started a podcast together. We recorded
You're not pregnant?
And we're pregnant. We're pregnant with podcast baby.
Both of us are pregnant,
At
actually.
the same time. It was
Wow.
an immaculate
Pretty
conception.
really wild coincidence.
It's a double miracle.
So we recorded our first episode Friday, and Jeff is hard at work. He is my audio slave. Wow. He is my audio slave. Great band, by the way. Anyways, he is working very hard at editing out as much of my screw up as as he can. Apparently, there's a lot of fan noise, but yeah. So hopefully that'll be out to everybody here in the near future. And yeah, we're called Dudes of Yore, and I'm really excited to get it out there and have people give it a listen and tell us what they think. So yeah, I can't really think of anything else. So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up now. So this has been another episode of On the Rise, and this is me, Jeremy, also known as Erasmus, going to sign off for the Erasmus Expeditions. So until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.